legs in the chair.
I think this is kind of how she is, and this is how she wants to be, or what she eventually will.
We started off by listening to different people's experience of medical intervention through childhood. We had a story about a young man who, when he was about 19 when he was doing the interview, who was describing growing up in an atmosphere where there was quite a lot of abuse going on between his father and his mother, and he was disabled himself, and he talked about how despite everything he'd managed to survive and grow. Then we started to work on creating some kind of physical images to sort of distill some of the stories that were spoken by people with disabilities who Sonali had interviewed, and we were asked if we could show those in still images. So it's a bit like, taking a snapshot photograph, and we were asked to sort of produce an image that would communicate to people who knew nothing about the story. Hanging inside while he's being imposed upon. You could represent that in one image maybe.
If you did one hand up, then we could all link around your hand.
Right, so I'll be the physio. I'm doing something.
I think if you're all strong, you're all...
All fight like that?
Yeah, so there's
Should we do one at a time so we can kind of see what's happening and then bring them all in and
Yeah.
Try it static.
I think we'll have to go for poetic license and move it.
It was static except for
It's really good, yeah. Yeah.
the fruit.
It feels like I'm struggling.
Dave's hands Harvey.
Yeah.
Dave's hands are Harvey coming
And where
out.
are the people doing to him?
Things to him.
I was really interested when Sonali approached me because she was interested in two things. One was to take this social scientific research and to try to put it through a sort of performance gate or lens, to animate it or reanimate it in a different way. So from social scientific fact and narrative into something much more graspable by possibly people in the everyday.
3, 2, 1, relax.
The way that you might use performance to represent hard facts, but also the way that you might use performance to unsettle facts or tell different stories and counter stories.
1, 2, 3. And relax. What can you see? Breaking out. Which character? Waiting room. And one person standing out.
Before we had the break, there was this big thing that everybody had taken a kind of negative approach to representing people's stories, and that's kind of, in a way, possibly was expected with the material we were given. But even within our group, we kind of talked about the positives from that, even though it had physical abuse in it and everything, and his strength of character and his maturity for his age and all this. And we took all the positives, and then we went away and made a completely negative piece. And what happens between that point, where you can be all positive about it, but then do you actually feel you buy into the social things, like that's what people expect. It's meant to be miserable, and it didn't have to be. And that's where you have to make a choice. It's just it's so complicated. It's not black and white in any situations.
There are all sorts of different voices speaking here, none of the respondents to Sonali, and maybe that's something that it could be argued is missing, but that might then put them too much on the spot. I thought it was interesting today when the question was asked about our responsibility to these people's own stories and the way that we select from them. But again, I think that is just proof of how useful this workshop series has been in providing a space where those sorts of concerns can be actively voiced and discussed and hopefully point towards some sort of solution. The other thing that's really important for me is that this is about history and a sense of history. So Sonali interviewed people who were born in the 40s, 60s and 80s, disabled people, telling their early life narrative in particular. And one of the things that she wants to do is to make a broad spectrum of young people now understand those stories. So what it's like to be disabled, born in those different times. And I'm interested in using performance both to bear witness to those experiences, but also to give everyone a sense of their own history and the way that each of us, if you like, is disabled by our environment, and some people, because of possibly a medical condition, much more disabled by their environment. So I think understanding ourselves historically and understanding how our environment is that which disables, and I mean our built environment and our social and cultural environment, our institutional environment, our medical environment, our educational one, that's the disabling thing. And it's getting everybody to understand that really fully for themselves.
We thought a nice way to finish would be to go around the circle, and for the person that you were doing the story of, Daisy, Florence or Harvey, we'd like you to give them a wish for their future, because all these people are still alive. Daisy and Florence are 60 and Harvey's 18. So just to sort of respect their generosity in sharing their story, if we give them back a wish for their future that's yet to come.
I wish I could meet Harvey and do his portrait.
No, but we're talking about what Harvey wants, Tanya.
I wish for Harvey, someday not too far off, whether by accident or by design, that he finds himself doing something that he loves to do.
I wish for Harvey that he finds a home that feels like home.